My husband has been camping alone every Saturday for our entire 8-year marriage, so I followed him secretly, and what I saw made my jaw drop. I have never been outdoorsy. I grew up in a city apartment. I hate bugs, and hiking trails make me nervous. Then I met Owen, the kind of man who spent every Saturday in the woods with a tent and a trail map. On our second date, he told me his time alone out there was how he kept his head straight. He had lost his first wife, Amelie, to cancer about a year before he met me, and the woods were where he processed his grief. Every Saturday for 8 years, Owen packed his truck Friday night and left before dawn. He came back Sunday afternoon, calmer, and we had dinner together. I always felt left out, but I told myself I had no right to ask him to share something so personal. About a year ago, I asked if I could come along just once, and he kissed me on the head like I was a child, and said the trip was about silence, not company, and I would not enjoy it because I would complain about the bugs. He said maybe one day. 6 months ago, with our anniversary coming up in October, I decided to surprise him. I would plan a weekend hiking trip myself, lead him on it, set up the tent myself. I would prove I could be the kind of woman he could share the woods with. I enrolled in wilderness tracking and outdoor survival classes at a state park 40 minutes away. I told Owen I had joined a book club that met Saturday mornings. I spent $90 a week on the class and $150 a month on gear and trail maps that I hid in a plastic bin under the garage workbench. The plan was to drive him to a trailhead I had picked and lead him on a 2-day hike along a route I had walked alone 3 times to memorize. About 6 weeks ago, I finished the advanced module and my instructor said I had a real talent for reading terrain. I wanted to test myself on familiar ground, so I decided to track Owen's usual Saturday route just to see if my skills worked on a trail I had heard about for years. That Saturday, Owen left earlier than usual, around 4 a.m. I left at 9 with a thermos of coffee and my own backpack. I drove to the trailhead at the state park he always mentioned and started looking for his tire tracks in the dirt. His truck had a tread pattern I had memorized from helping him load every weekend. The tracks did not go into the main lot. They turned off onto a fire access road I had never noticed, a small unmarked turn that only someone who had driven it dozens of times would know. I followed the road on foot for about 2 miles. I came up on a small private cabin set back in a clearing. Owen's truck was parked in front of it. 2 children's bikes were leaning against the porch railing, a pink one with streamers and a blue one with mud on the wheels. I crouched in the trees on the far side of the clearing. Through the kitchen window, I saw Owen sitting at a table with a woman who had long brown hair, a boy maybe 9 and a girl maybe 11. The woman set down a casserole and Owen put his hand on the small of her back. The boy showed Owen a drawing and Owen pinned it to the fridge with a magnet that already had 3 other drawings on it. The girl climbed into Owen's lap, called him daddy, and asked if he had remembered to bring her library books back. I went home that night and sat in my car in the driveway for an hour before I could go inside. When Owen got back Sunday afternoon, smelling like campfire smoke, he asked how book club had been. I told him it was fine. That night while he was in the shower, I sat at our kitchen table and requested certified copies of his marriage and divorce records from the county clerk. The confirmation said they would arrive within 5 to 7 business days. The following Saturday, Owen left at 4 a.m. again. At 10, I drove back to the fire road, parked half a mile from the cabin, and walked up in hiking clothes and a baseball cap, carrying a map and looking like every other lost weekend hiker. The woman was outside the cabin in a sweater, picking up bike helmets from the porch. I knocked on the gate and called out that I had wandered off the marked trail and was trying to find Route 9. She walked down to the gate, smiled, and introduced herself as Iris. She said the trail was about a mile back the way I had come. I asked if she lived out here year-round. She said she did, with her husband Owen and their 2 kids on weekends. Just her and the kids during the week because Owen worked in the city. She said they had been married 12 years. She was smiling, but little did she know, she would not be smiling for much longer. I stood at that gate smiling at Iris like my whole world had not just cracked down the middle. 12 years. Owen and I had been married 8. That meant Owen had started his life with her while Amelie was supposedly still alive, or Iris was lying, or Owen had told her a completely different timeline. The math did not add up, and I needed those records before I made a single move. The next 5 days were the longest of my life. I made dinner every night, watched whatever show Owen wanted, and watched him the whole time the way you watch someone when you are trying to figure out how much of what they show you is real. Once I started looking, I could not stop seeing things. His phone was always face down. Always. On the counter, on the nightstand, on the arm of the couch. Every time he set it down, it landed screen first like it was second nature. He went straight to the shower every Sunday before he did anything else. I had always told myself it was because he had been in the woods for 2 days. Now I thought about it differently. He was washing off the smell of another house, another kitchen, another woman's soap. And on Tuesday night, I went out to his truck to grab a jacket, and I saw a phone charger plugged into the outlet under the dashboard. We had the same kind of charger at home, but this one had never been inside our house. A phone turned over, a shower after a trip, a charger in a truck. Small things on their own. Together they made a picture I could not unsee. He had been careful for 8 years. The only reason I was catching it now was because I finally knew what I was looking for. Wednesday, the envelope came. I drove to a parking lot behind a shopping center and opened it on my lap. Owen's marriage certificate to Amelie was real. Their names, a date, a county seal. The death certificate was real too. The date on it was about 14 months before Owen and I met. He had told me 6 months on our second date. 8 months he had quietly shaved off the truth, and I had loved him too much to count. The third document I was looking for was not in the envelope. There was no marriage certificate for Owen and Iris. Not in our county. Not in the packet. I flipped through every page twice. There was no divorce record between Owen and anyone named Iris either. Iris was not his legal wife. I drove to the county clerk's office in person and asked the woman at the counter to run a broader search across 3 neighboring counties. She typed for a while, checked a few screens, and shook her head. Nothing came up. Owen was legally married to one person in the entire state, and that person was me. I had her print me a certified copy of my own marriage certificate, folded it carefully, and slid it into the inside pocket of my jacket. Maybe I needed to feel the weight of something real. Maybe I just wanted Owen to see it and know I had done my homework. That night, Owen came home from work, leaned against the kitchen counter, and said he was thinking about heading out Thursday night instead of Friday. The weather, he said. He wanted to catch the sunrise from the ridge. In 8 years, he had never once left on a Thursday. Something had spooked him. Either Iris had said something, or one of the kids had mentioned a strange woman woman at the gate, or Owen had a gut feeling his system was starting to crack. Whatever it was, he was speeding up his schedule, so I needed to speed up mine. I called Akira, my oldest friend, the one person I trusted to keep his mouth shut and tell me the truth even when it hurt. I needed someone in my corner before I did something I could not undo. Wait until you hear what Akira told me to do. I met Akira at a diner Saturday morning. I told him everything. The cabin, the 2 bikes, the girl climbing into Owen's lap and calling him daddy, the certified records, and the 8-month gap Owen had quietly shaved off Amelie's death. Akira listened until I ran out of words. Then he set down his cup. You need to talk to Iris before you talk to Owen. He has had 8 years to rehearse his lies. She has not. I shook my head. She has 2 kids in that cabin. If I walk up there and blow her life apart, what does that make me? Her life is already blown up, Akira said. She just does not know it yet. The longer you wait, the more time Owen has to cover his tracks. I drove to the fire road. I walked up the same path, through the same trees, past the same bend where the trail opens into the clearing. When I got to the cabin, I could hear a cartoon playing through the front window. I knocked. Iris opened the door and smiled. That same easy smile. You got lost again? She said. No, I said. I need to talk to you about Owen. Her smile faded slow, like someone turning down a light. She glanced over her shoulder toward the room where the kids were watching cartoons, stepped onto the porch, and pulled the door shut behind her. What about Owen? I took a breath. I told her. I am his wife, his legal wife. 8 years. He comes here every Saturday when he tells me he is going camping. Iris stared at me. She did not move. She did not blink. I pulled the certificate out of my jacket and held it out. Her eyes moved across the page and her hands started to shake. That is not possible, she said. We had a ceremony. His friend officiated. Owen said it was legal. Did you ever receive a marriage certificate in the mail? After the ceremony, did you ever get paperwork from the county? Her mouth opened and closed. She looked out toward the trees like she was searching for something she had just realized was gone. Owen told me he filed everything, she whispered. He said the county was slow. She opened the front door. Come inside. She led me to the kitchen and brought back a thick photo album with a blue fabric cover. Every page hit me like a punch. Owen at a birthday party with the girl, Greta, blowing out candles in front of him. Owen at a holiday dinner carving something at the head of a table set with cloth napkins. Owen in a folding chair at a school play, clapping for the boy, Azariah, up on a small stage in a costume. In every single photo, Owen was smiling. Not a fake smile, not a stiff one. The real kind that reaches all the way up. The kind of man whose only job in the world was to love the people in the pictures. Iris stopped on a page near the back. A wedding in a meadow behind the cabin. Owen in a white button-down with the sleeves rolled up. Iris in a sundress with flowers in her hair. A tall man with glasses and a beard reading from a book. That is Owen's college friend, Iris said. He told us he got ordained online. Owen set the whole thing up. He picked the spot. He picked the date. He even wrote his own vows. Owen had staged an entire fake wedding. He had found a friend willing to stand in a field and read from a book and pretend it was legal. He had put a ring on this woman's finger, given her 2 children, and let her believe for over a decade that she was his wife. None of it was what she thought it was. My phone buzzed on the table. A text from Owen. Where are you? Your car is not in the driveway. He was home. He had come back Saturday instead of Sunday. A full day early. I turned the phone toward Iris. He is checking on you, she whispered. We looked at each other across that kitchen table. 2 women who had been managed by the same man with the same soft voice and the same gentle excuses for years. The only reason it had worked was because he had made sure we never stood in the same room. I typed back that I was at the grocery store. Iris and I put each other's numbers in our phones. She walked me out through the back of the property, past a woodshed and a garden, so my car would not be visible from the road. We agreed to talk Monday when Owen was at work. The next conversation would not be between me and Iris. It would be between us and Owen, and I was going to pick the time and place. Monday morning I called Iris. She had not slept much. Owen had come to the cabin Sunday like always, but this time he had asked if anyone had come by the property recently. He had asked Greta at dinner if she had talked to any strangers that week. He had brought flowers, the nice kind from a real store, and told Iris he just wanted her to know he loved her. He never brought flowers unless he felt guilty about something. He had told Iris the same dead wife story he had told me, framed differently. With me, the woods were where he processed his grief. With Iris, he wanted something simple and quiet, away from the world. Same dead wife, same sad story. A skeleton key that opened every door he needed opened and locked every door he needed locked. I want to confront him together, at the cabin, this Saturday. Iris asked about the kids. We agreed they should not see any of it. Her neighbor, an older woman a mile up the road, would take them by 10. Then Iris said the thing I was not ready for. What if he turns this around on us? He always makes me feel like I am the one being unreasonable. By the end of every conversation, I am the one apologizing. I knew that voice. I had heard it 100 times. Every time I asked to come camping, every time I pushed back on his schedule, he would get soft and patient and look at me like I was fragile, and by the time he was done talking, I felt guilty for asking. He had used the same technique on both of us for years. That was exactly why we needed to be in the same room when it happened. Owen could manage one woman at a time. He had never had to face both of us at once. Friday night, I stood at the upstairs window and watched Owen pack his truck. After he loaded the camping cooler, he came back from the garage with a paper grocery bag I did not recognize and tucked it behind the driver's seat, down low where it would not be visible. 2 households, 2 sets of groceries, every Friday for 8 years, right in front of me, and I had never once looked closely at what went into that truck. He came inside, kissed me, and said, "See you Sunday, babe." "See you Saturday, actually," I said. The words came out before I could stop them. His keys stopped jingling. "What?" I smiled. "Nothing. I just meant I will miss you. See you Sunday." He looked at me a second longer than he should have. Then he left. I had slipped, and Owen had noticed. I had one day. Saturday morning, Iris called before I had even reached the fire road. Owen had shown up early with donuts and said he wanted a family morning. The kids were still home. I pulled to the side of the dirt road and called Akira. "The timing is never going to be perfect," he said. "Either you let him control it or you do." I told Iris to get the kids to the neighbor any way she could. 10 minutes later, her text came through. She had told Owen the neighbor invited the kids to see her new puppy. He had not fought it, but he was suspicious. He had asked her why she looked nervous. I walked up the road with boots loud on the gravel. I was not a lost hiker anymore. At the edge of the tree line, I heard Owen's voice through the open kitchen window. He he was on the phone. I do not know. Something feels different. She has been asking weird questions. She slipped up last night and said, see you Saturday instead of Sunday. I think she knows something. He was building his case before he knew what he was defending against. I texted Iris. She opened the front door. I walked across the clearing and up the porch steps. The cabin smelled like coffee and maple syrup. The fridge was covered in crayon drawings. A pink backpack hung from a hook by the door. Small shoes and big shoes lined up by the mat the way a family lines them up when they come inside. This was a home, a real one, with real people living real lives inside it. And Owen had built every bit of it on top of a lie so big it had its own zip code. Owen was at the counter with his back to me, phone to his ear. He ended the call and started to turn. He saw me. His face went blank. Completely. Totally blank. Like someone had reached behind his eyes and turned off every light. I pulled out the marriage certificate and set it on the counter between us. Owen looked at it without touching it. His shoulders dropped. His eyes filled with tears. Real ones. The kind that catch the light and make a man look like a boy who just got caught. Let me explain, he said, in that soft, careful voice. This is not what it looks like. That voice had kept me in my place for 8 years. I had heard it when I asked to come camping. I had heard it when I questioned why he needed every single Saturday. Standing in that kitchen with the smell of coffee and maple syrup all around me, I decided it was never going to work on me again. It is a marriage certificate, Owen, I said. Our marriage certificate. The only legal one that exists. There is not one for Iris because you staged a fake wedding with a friend who was never ordained. Owen turned to Iris and reached for her hand, the same way I had seen him reach for her through that kitchen window weeks ago. Natural and easy. She pulled her hand back like his fingers were hot. Is it true, Owen? Are we not married? Owen sat down at the kitchen table and put his head in his hands. I never meant to hurt anyone, he said, and his voice cracked on the word hurt like he had practiced it. After Amelie died, I was so broken I could not see straight. Then I met Iris, and she made me feel like there was a reason to keep going. A few years later, I met you, and you were everything Iris was not. The city, the noise, the life I thought I had lost. I could not let go of either of you. I loved you both. I still do. I thought if I worked hard enough, I could make it work. Sincerity was Owen's most dangerous tool. He could describe a lie that hurt 2 women and 2 children and make it sound like love. If I let that voice do its work, I would walk out of that cabin confused instead of clear, and Owen would have won the way he had won every argument for the last 8 years. Iris's voice came out flat. 12 years. You have been lying to me for 12 years. To her for 8. To our children for their entire lives. Owen stood up. He pulled his shoulders back and put on the face of a man who believes he is doing the right thing. I was protecting everyone. You were not protecting anyone, Owen, I said. You were protecting yourself. His face changed in a single breath. The softness drained out. The tears dried up like they had never been there. You followed me, he said, and the gentleness was gone. The voice now sharp. You lied about book club. You pretended to be a lost hiker. You manipulated Iris behind my back. And I am the bad guy? I took a wilderness tracking class because I wanted to surprise you with an anniversary hike, I said. I learned to read terrain because I loved you. I found this cabin because you taught me exactly where to look every Friday night when you loaded your truck. So yes, I followed you. And I would do it again. Owen opened his mouth and nothing came out. For the first time in 8 years, he had no answer. No soft redirect. No calm explanation. I had taken the thing he loved most about our marriage, my willingness to trust him, and shown him that the same love that made me trust him was the same love that taught me how to find him. Then he dropped to his knees on the kitchen tile and reached for the air between us. Please, we can figure this out. I will do anything. I will go to counseling. I will tell the kids the truth when they are older. Just do not take my family from me. He really believed there was some version of the future where 2 women, 2 kids, a cabin in the woods, and a house in the city all kept spinning around him like planets around a sun, and nobody ever crashed into anyone else. The saddest part was that he did not even know it. Iris stepped back from him and looked down. Owen, you do not have a family. You have 2 families, and neither one of them is real. Owen made a small choked sound from somewhere deep in his chest. I picked the certificate back up, folded it along the same creases it had been folded in since the clerk handed it to me, and put it in my bag. I am filing on Monday, I said, and I am keeping every document, every record, and every photo Iris and I put together this week. You can explain the rest to a judge. I turned to Iris. You have my number. Call me if you need anything. For the kids. She nodded, her feet planted on the floor of her own kitchen like she was reclaiming it 1 square inch at a time. I walked down the hallway and out the front door, past the pink backpack and the shoes lined up by the mat, past the 2 children's bikes leaning against the porch railing, the same 2 bikes I had seen the first morning I crouched in those trees, and watched my whole life fall apart through a kitchen window. I walked across the clearing and into the trees, and I did not look back. By the time I reached my car, my phone had 2 missed calls from Owen and 1 text from Akira. How did it go? I leaned against the driver's side door and typed 2 words. It is done. I drove home on a road I found myself. Through woods I learned to read with my own hands, and I left Owen exactly where he always said he wanted to be. Just him, the trees, the silence he had always claimed to need.